Welcome back, everybody. We promised you more content, and here's another week of the Steel Target Paint podcast. As always, I am accompanied by my best friend in the steel sports, best friend overall. Anyways, Steve, how you doing?
I'm doing Jeff. Yeah, I'm doing Jeff.
Whoa,
I'm doing good,
okay.
Jeff. Wow, that's a different podcast.
Maybe I should edit that out. Nah, we'll leave it in. It's too much fun.
That's pretty funny.
Well, actually, you may have picked up on a little laughter there with a different voice. We are joined today by Brad Jeffers. Brad, how are you?
I am well, Jeff. Steve, how you doing, buddy?
Good, Brad. You have
Good.
any confessions for the audience before we start?
Well, I got to figure out what subject I'm on. I have too many confessions to remember which ones to give, right?
I hear you.
Good
Well,
stuff.
I set this podcast up this week with Brad and Steve, and I'm subtitling this Coach's Corner. All three of us train steel challenge shooters, and so I thought we would share some stories, tips, techniques, things that we've seen. We could share not only the great accomplishments, but maybe even a dumpster fire or two. So that's going to be our roundtable. And actually, I'm going to put Brad on the spot right off the bat because, Brad, you've got something special coming up with a training class that you're giving with Jesse Misko. You want to share a little bit about that?
Sure, Jeff. So I'll try not to make it too long, but to give you an idea.
Okay, that's enough. Thanks.
Yeah. What do you think? Did you like the idea? Good, huh? So Jesse has become a good friend of mine, and fortunately, Jesse is going to do a lot of traveling this year. He was able to get his job was able to switch to where he doesn't have to be there, so he's remote, and he's got a camper where he's traveling. And he's going to be at my place for a month of March and hanging out, learning, practicing. We're going to do some training together, and I thought it would be a cool opportunity to since we collaborate a lot, to offer something with both of us working with people. We have a lot of the similar ideas and different ones too, which are good too. But and I kind of went back to when I went down to see Steve a couple of years ago. I really picked up a lot. There's so much information there, and Steve actually does a good job of trying to not overload you, but still there's a lot. And one of the things I really enjoyed the most when I went to Steve's place was, taking an hour break for lunch and sitting around having a couple of hot dogs or a burger and just kind of chatting about ideas and getting to know people. So I thought, that's something we can do, which might be really fun, especially to have someone as talented as Jesse. So we turned it into 2 days so we could kind of dilute the information a little bit so everything doesn't turn into muddy water, and shoot for 4 or 5 hour days or 4 or 5 hours on Saturday, do some teaching, instructing, kick some new ideas out. And then Saturday evening, we're just going to hang out and throw something on the grill and just chill, talk, Q&A, talk about what we did that day, and just spend quite a bit of time with a group of 4. We're capping that at 4. And, just kind of let everything just kind of soak in. And there's always like things you'd like to know, right? I know I was lucky enough to hang out with Steve Monday in Columbus. He was doing his real job, and just there chit chat for 2 hours, right? About all kinds of stuff, gun related and un-gun related. And it's a good time. So I thought that would be something really easy to mix in for 2 days. People have to get a hotel anyway, or find a place to stay. So you're already there. So you might as well get some of that time in. And then we're going to come back Sunday and do some more training and, maybe take that up a notch or do whatever. So I thought it was kind of a unique situation. We tried to model it after something that both of us would like to do and would get something out of. Have no idea really how it'll be received, but I think there'll be good information for everybody, and hopefully be rewarding. So that was our idea, Jeff.
Fantastic. So what do you think, what would be your ultimate goal for a student after the class? Outside of, okay, they shoot better, which is of course, the ultimate goal. But I know for myself, what I try to get with my students, but I'd like to hear what you're looking for first, and then I'll share what I've got.
Okay, so and there again, I don't know how many people in your podcast even knows who I am, but so my background is a lot of different athletic coaching, right? And I think it all comes back to the same thing. So when we have students, if we're doing our job, communicating, creating creative minds, and we want people to question our ideas, techniques, and philosophies. So at the end of the day, for me, I want them to come out of a session with new information and excited about trying it, and with new confidence, thinking, wow, I can reach a new information because this information I just got makes a heck of a lot of sense. And I'm anxious to get to the range, to practice, to do my individual workouts. And then I always love to hear back from them. Like, it's so much fun. I'll throw a name out. We got a young lady on our team that's just joined us. Her name's Ella Tryon, great kid out of Northern Ohio, and heard her dad work out. Her dad's a very good pistol shooter, and she got a message from the family. Hey, Ella shot these scores when we were practicing. I got that text from her dad a couple weeks ago. So it was fun. She got some stuff that was new, went, applied it, had some success, and is excited to keep working on those things. So, whether it's Ella or someone else, it's really cool to have information that is new. There are things I haven't thought about, and be excited about taking it to the range and seeing if it can help me improve my game. So that's how I would judge the success, I guess, is how excited is someone about the information they got? Do they want to apply it? Or was it just a bunch of fog that I don't have confidence in?
Excellent. Steve, same question.
I think the part that I enjoy the most about coaching and training is to help shooters see something that they didn't think was possible. And what I mean by that is that, and I've shared it 1,000 times, that everybody's got their own shooting tendency. And whether people have a plateau or maybe they just want to get more training and education, I really enjoy that part of making the changes with people and having them do something that they've never done before. That gives me a lot of gratification. I really enjoy that. And this may sound silly, but I'm not sure if I enjoy the coaching or actual shooting more nowadays, but I really enjoy the interaction and helping people and coach them and support them, and that's what I probably enjoy the most is and then working with them long term. It's just not a one and done kind of thing. It's when I train people, and some people even that I don't train, I love to give them help and support. Whether it's worked with somebody recently. They just reached out to me out of the blue and said, hey, tell me about your grips and magwell. And so we started talking about guns, and then we started talking about rifles, and they were having an issue with a barrel. And, all this sound familiar to anybody? You know what I mean? It's just having somebody, I've got a day job and a night job and family and all that kind of stuff, so I can't spend all my time doing that part, but I enjoy just helping people with questions that they didn't know who to turn to or who to ask.
Excellent. Well, for me, I think all the things you guys have mentioned, I agree with. And the gratification of knowing you help somebody reach a goal, whatever that goal may be, sub 2-second run on Smoke and Hope, seeing them be able to do that and have the confidence to do that. But from one of the things that lately I've really enjoyed hearing from my students is when it doesn't go right for them, they know what they weren't doing correctly and what caused it not to go right. Brad, you may not have heard, Steve's probably heard it ad infinitum. My two phrases are grip the gun, go 1 for 1. And I truly believe that, okay, not for, the upper echelon of the world, but I think if more shooters took that to heart and what that means, and realizing that the grip, whatever gun you're shooting, whether it be a rifle or a pistol, is the foundation of being able to shoot well, because even if you're shooting rimfire, especially in center fire, but even in rimfire, the gun has recoil. And, you know, the classic one I always use with my students is, you know, put your rifle bullseye set up to bullseye plate 2 on pendulum. And then I'll move the barrel a quarter of an inch. And I go, you on the plate? And they go, no. I go, that's what you have. That's what your grip is going to do. It's going to keep you on target. And so hearing them go, I know, you know, come off a line in a match when I'm shooting with them, and they go, I know what I did wrong. It was my grip. I lost my grip. They knew now. So they were able to identify the problem, where before they never knew why they were missing. They were just missing. So that for me is something that's important. Now, you guys both have different ways of training. Like you say, you both have a full-time job. Through some terrible circumstances, I was able to retire, and, you know, coaching is now my full-time job. So we have different types of students, where you guys are running more of a seminar-based thing, and then, you know, staying in touch. And after, and Steve, I'm sure you get videos from people. Hey, can you help me out here? Is that true?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So for me, I see my students every week. So I started years ago. It's like, okay, in fact, this week we start with we're back on 5 to go. Next week will be showdown. Following week will be smoke and hope. And we work every stage every week. And most times, you know, the classes run based on the number of people, anywhere from 45 minutes to hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, you know, based, you know, if I've got a private one person, or some, you know, on my Tuesday class, I've got 5 shooters. So it takes a little longer, but everybody's getting up there and usually putting down anywhere from 100, 150 rounds. But the one thing I always throw in there is, and it's not always the last session, it's what I call match conditions, where the only difference is I have a pad and I'm recording their times in the pad. And I do that because, and you guys tell me if you've seen it, it suddenly means something and their shooting style changes. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I think you can say this about any sport. Anytime we do training, we change whatever it is, whether it's our grip or technique or what have you. As we get a little nervous or things matter, we have a tendency to revert to, you know, what we used to do, because our muscle memory is established there. And I know Steve is a great big muscle memory guy. So I think it only makes sense, that we kind of have a tendency to revert back. So you've been training and we all of a sudden are going to put some more emphasis on it. It's pretty easy for things to kind of flow backwards. And that's one nice thing, Jeff, where you get to see people weekly. You can try to build some of that in. And why we have to change that muscle memory core, right? That is key, which, you know, for me requires, you know, homework, dry fire, all those other things that will help eliminate that. And then of course you have the mental side too that gets in there, like, oh my, I just had 3 good strings, one more, and I'm going to have a PR or a PB, depending on, I guess, what terms. Yeah, and that.
Oh, my 4th string tends to be my worst string, because the first 3 go great, and then I'm like, okay, rip this one, and then it's like, oh crap, and then it's like, okay, now I just got to put down a solid one on number 5. So.
Yeah, and that's kind of the norm, right? Although I never get 3 good ones, so it's the 4th time.
Definitely not today.
I don't have any good. Yeah, but yeah, it's interesting, the different styles, ideas, and thoughts that we all have when we're training too, and where we're going and how we're trying to get there, because it does vary quite a bit. And you know, there's more than one path to a podium, right? But
absolutely,
all
100%.
All of them require training, you know, and practice and dedication. So yeah, good stuff.
I think that is probably, I had somebody years ago when I first started shooting, and I was doing a lot of USPSA, and we went over and took a class with Shannon Smith, who has been on the podcast. And this is my friend Gerald, and Gerald said something very important that has stuck with me, and it was the best investment you can make is an investment in yourself. And the people who come to your classes, come to your training seminars, call Steve up, hey, can you help? Those are the people that are willing to put an investment into themselves. Because this is a learned skill, it's a diminishable skill, and you have to stay on top of it.
And I think it's also, what do you want to get out of it, right? We've talked a little bit about this in the past, is that it is perfectly fine to go out there and exercise your Second Amendment right and have fun and just shoot.
100%.
That's perfectly fine. But if you want to get better, sometimes you don't know what you're doing, how you're doing it until you've seen it done. And we've chatted a little bit about this in the past too. It's people don't understand what the true limits are or what's capable or achievable. Again, if you look at the Steel Challenge historian, I've shared this a couple times, but back in the day, 65 was lights out, man. Back in 2018, 2019, you're a world champion. You can shoot a 65. But I think that's what happens when you have competition and, people train and, go find help and, those types of things that they really see what is possible. But, I was working with somebody here recently and said, hey, you know what, man, I'm going to come see you for X amount of dollars because I'm going to waste 4 times that and not get any better, because sometimes people just don't know, of course, what they don't know or what they haven't seen. So it's worth it if you're looking to get better, to find a good coach.
100%.
But to back up to what Brad said just a little bit ago, yeah, it was really cool. I really love the relationships. I'm not even sure how you found me. Was it through chat or was it just?
So here's kind of my deal. I got a volleyball coaching job and had never played volleyball. So, and Steve, you know me well enough that you'll laugh at this. So what did I do? I did a quick research and I found out the winningest volleyball coach was in Ohio, and I called him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's just how it worked. So I'm going to find, the person that's done it the best for the longest. I'm going to call, and it's amazing. If you treat people nice, everyone wants to help. Right?
Oh yeah.
But, yeah. The people that know the most need to be asked, and they'll help you. The people that don't know anything have all kinds of advice without asking. Is that fair or not? Right?
And sometimes you get what you pay for.
That's right. So, so that's, Steve, that's honestly, your reputation, your hard work, the time you put in, sent me to you. So I'm just, get your number.
I got you.
Hey, Steve, here I am. This is what I'm doing. I know you're good at this. Let's find the time. Right. So where that was my connection there. Let me bounce back real quick. So, and this is a little controversial because it's different for everyone. Right. And there's 2 things here. One, I'm going to say, and, Steve talked about what you're going to get at, what you're looking to get out of it. So I'm going to take that a little different angle. Are you wanting to be the best in the world? Or are you wanting to go from A to B? Or from B to A, maybe A to, right? So, and in what time span do you want to do it? Yeah. So, and this will contradict your 1-for-1, Jeff, just a little bit, but that's okay. And you might disagree with it, which I'm fine with too. But regardless, if we have someone that's new that wants to get as good as they can get, I'm going to go the opposite and say, I don't want you going 1-for-1 because I can go 1-for-1. I'm just going to be really damn slow. So
fair enough. And when you finish, I will preface what my 1-for-1 means, but keep going.
So for me, I want them getting used to seeing and making mental decisions way faster than they're doing it now. And if I do that at a pace where we really don't want to count misses because we know misses are slow, it will take me a long time to get there. But if I say, okay, you're going to shoot 175 strings. And if you miss and count a bunch of misses, it's okay right now because we're not preparing for matches. We're training to be faster than we are. Now, when we start training for a match, which is what are you doing or what are you trying to get out of it? That's a different type of training for me, right? So, and these are kind of ideas I've developed without, a little bit on my own or looking at stats. And I go back to sometimes I think when I was coaching other sports, it's like I'm trying to find what is, and I do this a lot with techniques, and I call Steve all the time about this stuff. Are we forward thinking or are we doing what we've always done? Right? Because in so many sports, we're always moving forward. Sometimes ideas and stuff get left behind and we create new ones. Other times, some of those fundamentals are long lasting and last forever as long as the game exists. So are we really truly trying to find new techniques, new ways to analyze statistics, new ways to improve? And then maybe some of those old techniques do need to go by the side, by the side. But there's also the importance of your grip is never going to change, right? The importance of
those basic
your
fundamentals of shooting that you have to do.
But if we're training like our eyes and cognitive decision making, that's different skill, completely different. And to do that, so I'll throw out just kind of a little bit thing. Like I haven't shot a steel match in over 5 months, and I come down here to Tennessee and not practicing. So like all I want to do is just try to go really fast, right? And I know I'm gonna have misses. I know I'm gonna probably count some misses, but it's okay because I'm not trying to shoot a match. I'm trying to just kind of start working on gaining some speed. So is that bad? Well, if I'm trying to shoot the best score I can today, that's not the way to go about it. But if I want to get more comfortable shooting 150s with my pistol, that's okay because I'm trying to shoot a match. I'm not going to shoot any 150s with my pistol, right? So what are we better off with? 3 or 4 150s and a bunch of 2s or 3s, or am I better off with a whole bunch of 195s? Like for me, I'd rather have the student that's willing to shoot the 150s and miss because we can always take that and turn that into a real consistent match of 165s, right? We can't take the 195 shooter and make him a 165 shooter. It's just not going to happen until they can cognitively make the decisions fast enough to shoot the 165 comfortable. Now, if I can shoot 150s, I can shoot 165 really comfortably. So it's a little bit different than some people look at it, and it might be totally crazy.
No, it's actually not. And quite frankly, it's in line with my theory because, and I will say this as my analysis, you did not go to shoot a match. No. You shot in a match, but you didn't go to shoot the match. You didn't go to try to score the best score you could possibly. You extended your training into that match, and that's great. And I've actually said that. I've said this to a lot of my students where a level one local match should just be extended training.
Yeah. So and that's a good point too, Steve, well, both you guys, and give me your feedback. So often we go to our practice ranges and we practice this, and sometimes we practice going fast. But there's a difference between going to the practice range and shooting fast and misses don't matter than going to an actual match and doing that, right? So I feel like that's a really important part of practicing going fast, practicing making cognitive decisions really quick. When I'm actually at a match, and maybe it's not like you say, it's a local match or whatever, it's the perfect time to throw some caution away, have some fun, see how fast you can shoot. And if you don't win or you don't do your best total time, that's almost good because that means you are pushing the envelope, a lot.
This goes into something else that I say to my students, especially in training, is the best part about misses in training is they don't count because you're training. And I adopted something from Steve. Steve talks about the edge. If you're a 2-second shooter in the Smoke and Hope, 2 seconds is you're comfortable at 2 seconds. You can run 2-second runs. Yeah, when you're in practice, you ought to be running 2 175s because let's face it. I think we could all get out there and Smoke and Hope and probably whip off a 125 shots but probably not hit anything.
Mhm.
That is too far from the edge, in my estimation. There's got to be some control. You don't want to have just a complete haphazard go fast for the sake of going fast, which I don't think you're saying. You still want to have, like you said, you still want to be able to have some cognitive reference of, I'm seeing the dot on the plate, or I know why I missed that plate.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's always a fine line if we're really truly building speed. Although, um, where is that to get to a fine line? We're going to be crossing it part of the time. Is that bad? I don't think so. But obviously, when we're shooting an actual match, we do need a better sight picture. We do need to make better decisions. But then again, too, I mean, let's be honest too. Like, how many times is Casey Eusebio going to go, 1 for 1 when he grips the gun? Like, he's going to miss 3 times and shoot a 184 on, Smoking Hope or something, right? Or, Kenny Nagata counting misses at Worlds and still finishing really, really high. So they're on that edge a lot. Same way with Jesse Misko. You counting the misses in really big matches. It's not that they want to. It's just that they're able to ride that really fine line pretty well. Now, you don't get there where you can do that without practicing that, right? Sometimes you're going to cross the line. But if we don't ever cross it, we're not probably trying to write it close enough. Maybe that's just an idea, and I'd love to hear you guys' feedback on that.
Like I said, different technique, but the same idea. I always get a kick out of the fact that people say, "Oh, the kids can see faster," and I always tell them, sight is based on a universal constant called the speed of light.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now you see exactly as fast as somebody else. The difference is how fast they perceive what's happening. Is what I tell my students.
Explain defines perceive for me, just so I understand what you're saying there. Because
we're gonna both see if we could both see a sight approaching a plate.
Mm-hmm.
We're both going to see the dot reach the edge of the plate at the same time, because it's a universal constant. Okay. But a better shooter is going to perceive and be able to make the cognitive decision of that sight picture is good enough for me to press the trigger and move on to the next plate.
Mm-hmm.
Where a shooter with lesser skills is going to wait for that dot to stop, or wait for that dot to be in the middle of the plate. They're not going to have that ability to pull the trigger because they're waiting for the dot to stop wiggling. And of course, that goes back to form and trigger press and all those kinds of things too. Those matter. But they're able to make the decision to press the trigger faster with the sight picture they have over someone who isn't willing to make that decision, can't make that decision, hasn't learned that good enough.
Yeah. So, and how much of that too, Jeff, I think we're on the same page 100% here, is like, so that dry fire practice, the live fire practice, you're also training yourself to move that dot to the correct spot too, right? Like,
I do have one question for Steve quickly.
Okay.
Steve, what is dry fire? I don't. What is it? What is this dry fire stuff he's talking about?
It's what
Is this some newfangled thing that he's developed? What the hell is he talking about?
Jeff, I can't believe we made it this far into it, but that's what people do when they don't have a home range.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I cracked myself up.
No, Brad, I honestly believe, and I think we are saying very similar things in a very different way. But I agree with everything you've said.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, while I do preach grip the gun, go 1 for 1, you're absolutely right. I could go out there and shoot a 5-second Smoking Hope.
Yeah.
Ping,
yeah.
ping, 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 ping. There. I just went 1-for-1.
Yeah,
That's not what my 1-for-1 statement means,
sure.
because you also have to shoot. I also believe that a lot of shooters, when they're in a match that matters to them, where they're looking to shoot as well as they can. Okay, they're not going for a match where they're practicing as you just did, but there's something where they're actually saying, okay, beginning of the day, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to perform at my peak level at this match.
Mm-hmm.
That the 1-for-1 matters within your skill level. Okay, so a 2-second shooter shooting a 5-second string is not shooting within their skill level.
Yes.
But a 2-second shooter, that comes out and, first string shoots a 220, in my estimation, they're right where they need to be. They're within 10% of their best.
Sure.
Now
And
they got to start trusting it and start pushing a little.
Mm-hmm.
And you can push too far. I mean, the worst, I don't know about you guys, but the worst thing that ever happens to me is if I crush the first string.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then my brain goes, well, now get faster, get faster, get faster.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's okay. Now I'm missing too much, and part of my go 1-for-1 actually stems from a conversation back at the 2017 U.S. Steel Nationals between Steve Foster and, now I can't remember his name.
Uh-oh.
Rifle shooter, used to shoot a lot, was on Team Volkwartsen.
Talking about Ron?
Yes, Ron Elliott. Yes. It was between you and
Oliver.
Ron Oliver.
Yep.
Ron Oliver. Excuse me, Ron. I doubt you're listening, but if you are, I apologize. Ron Oliver. And I was walking behind you guys and you were talking, and you weren't talking about what you just shot. You were talking about how many extra shots you took into score.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning how many pickups did you have to make? And that's when that was the first time it started clicking to me. And then, of course, Brad, you're analytical. I'm very analytical. I started looking at different levels, a miss costs people a different amount of time, of course.
It always costs time, though, right?
It always costs time. But it tends to be somewhere between a 10 and 15% time difference of if you had missed. Meaning, if you end up throwing a 170, your pickup is probably going to be about 1.7 seconds, 10% of your total time. That's what I'm getting at.
Sure.
Like a 3-second shooter is going to have about a 0.3 of a second pickup on a miss. Yeah,
that would
and
be
of course, it's all based on the plate and the stage and
yes.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so when you start looking, that's where I develop my concept of 1-for-1. But again, within your shooting capability, you've got a B shooter. Having them go 1-for-1 at their level is still going to be slower than a master shooter going 1-for-1 on the same stage. But it's the best. It's what that B shooter can do now. And then in training, you're pushing them to say, okay, now, just like you've pointed out, this is what your potential is.
We all shoot our best matches when we don't have very many pickups, right? That's
of course,
without a doubt. Yeah. We're seeing that, our sight picture the way we want to see it. We're making cognitive decisions well. We're calling our shots well. All those things that are important. And I know Steve talks about that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Steve. I think you work a lot on like that when we're starting out. Let's try to start out at 80% of our peak, but we know what that is, right? And that gives you, so you're not trying to push so hard. And if things are going good, you'll naturally kind of speed up just because you become more familiar with your cadence. You become more familiar with, the RO, and you should be getting more comfortable with your timing of your different targets. So, that's kind of a nice, interesting way to look at kind of what you're saying there, I think, Jeff, which is good.
And Steve, we're monopolizing, so I'm going to give you a question in a
That's
minute.
okay.
So But you raised something really important there, Brad, which is something I have all my students. They walk to the line in training, and the first question I ask them is, "What's your number?"
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't have it, I have a Google sheet that has a link to their SCSA scores, and I can go in and I can get what their current best stage time is, divided by 4 for all but outer limits, and I can get what's their average best string.
Mm-hmm.
So now I know what their best is. So again, if I look it up and it's 250 on accelerator and you're shooting 275s, I'm gonna push you that you're not going fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
Because misses don't matter in practice.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's also something where I've always stressed this with everyone, even in a match, know your number. For that same reason where I, come out blazing my first string. If my best is whatever stage it is, 2 seconds. If my best is 2 seconds and I come out and throw 175, I need to say to myself, okay, that's a great run. Just keep running 175s now. And I'm going to end up 1 second under my personal best.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of trying to take that 175 and make it a 165 and a 155. And again, just as you said, it's all dependent upon what your goal is for that match.
Sure.
All right. So, Steve, let me ask you something. What has been your greatest success story? You can use a name if you want, but your greatest success story in your coaching.
Oof.
Or just, top ones. What are some of your best ones?
Without bragging, that's a tough one.
You're
You can brag. You can brag.
You've earned it.
It's one of those. I've been very fortunate to have trained or worked with some of the best shooters out there, and I'm very humbled that that people have come to see me and found value in the advice that I've had, and I just I'm not gonna list a bunch of names because I've shared a little bit of that in the past, but yeah, it's been there's just a lot of junior shooters that are now multiple world champions that have been fortunate just to even spend time out of the range. I'm just humbled that they came to see me. But I think that what I'm most proud of, though, in terms of coaching, is some of the folks that aren't even world champions, people that just have found a relationship with shooting. I remember I'll share a story, and I think you guys have heard this before, but um probably just spending time in training is with Mike Baker. I remember he reached out to me. I reached out to him on I know
Come
on Facebook, and we went and shot a rimfire challenge match together, and Elsie, you wouldn't know it, she was not into guns or shooting whatsoever, and probably a year and a half, and now they travel the country together, and so I'm fortunate to have that type of experience. And Brad shared a little bit, had an opportunity. I was in Ohio last week, and he went out of his way and picked up Chet, owner of CWA that recently sold to Precision Defense. Man, we sat there and chatted for a couple hours, and some of that was based on relationships of training and coaching and so on and so forth. But I just, at some point, it's about the speed, it's about the accomplishments, it's about all of that, but it's more of the sense of community, and it's something that I really, really, really enjoy. And I've just been humbled to have met a lot of amazing people on this journey. So it's just not the training with the world champions, although that is pretty darn cool. And people that have come here, and the next match or two, they shoot like lights out. And there are a couple of people that come to mind that shot just some amazing times that, I was cautiously optimistic that I'm like, hey, this is where you could be at. And they just, they just lay it all down. But, I think it's that part. It's about the relationships. It's about the sense of community, family. And I'm an addict. I love shooting, Jeff.
Oh, Steve, man, that's beautiful. That's just,
And I met you, Jeff.
you're
And I met you.
gonna have to give me a minute
But-
here, man. Okay,
But
okay.
but even
No,
like
no,
tonight,
but I'm joking with you, Steve, because I do consider you one of my best friends, and you're absolutely right. We met. We may have had one or two conversations online, just nothing spectacular, but we got to meet. I think it was at U.S. Steel.
yeah, here in South River.
Yep, and
Yep.
it was there was a spark there that we continued on, and when I think we were both thinking about doing a podcast, and when we reached out to each other, it just fell into place, and it I agree with those sentiments 100%, 1000%. I know for me, going to the big matches, I've always joked about, it's like old home days.
Yeah, for sure.
You're getting to see the people that you may see on, you might see a post on Facebook and maybe you don't even reply, but you just see a post and then you get to see them. And, I agree with you. I feel very humbled. I'm, okay, I'm going to toot my own horn here a little bit. In a month, less than a month, the West Florida's coming up. And every year except for one, you've made it. And last year it was because you got sick right before.
I did. It was bad.
Larry has been to the match, and Zach's coming again this year, and he was there last year. And Doug and Beth Kemmerer and Richard Stokes are coming down from Indiana. Omensetter, Ryan Wagner coming down from Pennsylvania. T-Rex, Mike Wallace, Will Nowatnik. They're coming to my little, I always joke about it, my little dinky 6-stage match. But I am so honored that they're willing to spend the time and money to come down. Because as a match director, but also as a friend, I just appreciate every one of them that come to the match. And it's great when you meet somebody new. I mean, the very first West Florida match, I got to meet Reagan Hearn. And I've known her and her family since then. And, she brings me Skittles, which is, she found out I like Skittles, and now she brings me Skittles. And Jesse Grant, these are all, and granted, they're Florida shooters, but again, you could just go down a litany of names, and we could all just start reeling off the people that we've met and then have just become, close friends, more than just range friends, and range friends are great. People you see at the range and say hi and you're nice and all that kind of stuff. But, I've actually been allowed inside your house, which I feel very, very honored.
Gotta step up security.
Yeah.
But to that point, Jeff, and you mentioned the Hearns. That's the first time that I met Reagan and Adam and the sane one, Jen, and but and these folks are extremely close friends with me and my kids, and you know what I mean. Reagan was up here and she stayed with us for, I don't know, was it a week, 2 weeks? I don't know, last summer. And it's just, yeah, it's cool. And I will say, and I've shared this with you once or twice when we're talking about, why do you like coming to the West Florida match? And it's not that I wouldn't go to the match, but it's because it's your match. That's the reason why I make it a priority to go to it. So anyway.
But you can also go down the line too. It's like, I'll see Jesse Misko usually once a year at Worlds, and it's great seeing him. Very similar with Adam Reno. all our West Coast friends. Unless the Grimies start traveling more, which they've actually come down to Area 6 when it was here in Okeechobee. We got to see them there. But, every time I see Kurt and Maria, it's fantastic. It's just great seeing these people. And, last year I got to meet Brad, and, now we've got him on the podcast. We've talked on separate phone calls, and it's great, when you see that phone, ring, and it's somebody you haven't talked to in a while, but it's a shooting buddy, and you're like, oh man, I can't wait to take this. I can't wait to see what's going on and hear stuff,
Yep.
And then, for me, it's my brother of another mother, Zach Jones is also one of my great friends. Also met him at that same match, 2017 U.S. Steel, and we've garnered a friendship that goes beyond shooting, which is pretty cool. And Brad, Brad, I hope the same happens. I don't see why it wouldn't happen with you. So, when I'm up your way and I need a place to stay, just,
well,
leave the garage door open.
I hear you. No, that's true. Like, and so I'm pretty new to the whole steel challenge shooting community. It's certainly, relatively to you guys. And, just, Jeff, I remember when you come up out of the blue, right, to Worlds, right? My first time there, like, hey, introduce yourself, and, and genuinely looking forward to build relationships and meet people. And that has a lot of value. And that talks a lot about, I think, what the steel challenge community is really about. And also, it just really is a really nice family friend setting. It is a competitive, absolutely, but both of you guys, though, are a big part of why it's that way. And I've been the benefit of getting to meet both of you, and both of you have been very welcoming and helpful to me, which I really appreciate. But hopefully I can do my share of that in the future. But that's why people love it. And like you say, Jeff, that's why people come to your match. It's like there's not only are they looking forward to seeing you, but they're looking forward to seeing a lot of those people you've named, and getting to say hi, right? After a cold winter or a time away from shooting. It's really nice to be, and obviously you're putting on a good match. You care about it being done right. All those things are cool too. But it's really, that the work you've done trying to promote the sport and be a friend to people.
I appreciate that. And I will say this, and I said it about in our little pre-conversation about, I had the USPSA Florida State match this weekend that I worked a stage. I'm very fortunate to have become involved with the Wyoming Antelope Club and their action pistol discipline. And we pride ourselves on putting on matches where the shooters, before the match is over, say, I can't wait to come back to next year's. You can't get a higher praise than that. And, you've all been to great matches, and we've all been to less than great matches. And it's amazing how the great matches go on and on and on and are just as big. And I will call out another good friend, Steve Wright, and what they do up for Area 5. That's been a premier area match for years. Kurt Grimes in what he does with Area 2. I don't know if I have the time to put into it that Kurt did, because that match sounded amazing.
It's really all Maria, just in case if there's any misconceptions about it. Love you, Kurt.
But you can look at all the other stuff, all the other matches and that have been put on. It's the good ones, and the good ones continue to grow. Some have challenges that are beyond their control, like Area 6, not Area 6, the South Georgia Championships. Poor Jamie. Last year's was a rough one, with having to be rescheduled twice before he had it, and he still got close to 200 shooters at that match if he didn't break 200. And that's a testament to him. He did break 200.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did.
Awesome. Again, I don't have the number in front of me, but that match got rained out, and then he got deployed and wasn't able
Oh
to
man.
do it. And I know when I was there, he was like, oh, it's not as big. And I'm like, Jamie, it's still big. It's still big for what happened. It's amazing what he was able to put on. So, kudos to him. So
Along that same line, Jeff, so the Area 8 match looked like it was going to disappear, and Wade Shaner kind of dived in there with
there you
some other
go.
people, and I just thought they did a really great job last year, kind of moving location, getting things going, setting up a good match, and I'm anxious to get back there again this year and see some of those people, and he did a fabulous job just trying to get that match up and going, and when it looked like it might disappear,
Yeah.
fabulous.
Well, I'll you know what? We're gonna throw some more kudos. I just met him at the Mississippi match this past year. Carlos Knox out in Area 4.
Texas.
Not only did he get one in for 2023, but the 2024 Area 4 match is already on the books as going to happen. And there's another guy that says, he wants to be able to bring this to his area, and that's fantastic. And I'm looking down here at the majors that are on the Steel Challenge website, and my screen is full open, and I'm having to scroll 3 times to get to the bottom of the match. And this is outside of just area matches and world speed. You've got state championships, and then you've got some of the specialized ones. Going towards the end of the year, I'm seeing here the 2024 Cornhusker Classic. That's not an area match. That's not a state match. That's just a level 2 match that someone says, I want to bring value to the shooting community and put a match. Brad, I'm guessing you're going to be going to the Ohio Steel Classic up there in Marengo, Ohio, in October.
Yeah. So, and shout out to Todd Weitzel, I think runs that match
Yeah.
at the Cornhusker, and he does a great job I'm hoping to maybe find a way to sneak out there, even though it's like 174,000 hours, I think, to get there. But yeah.
Todd and Michelle are fantastic people.
Yeah.
Being retired now, I'm taking advantage of being retired, and the week after the CMP, when the CMP or the World Speed Shoot at the CMP ends, I'm going to drive up north and spend some time with my daughter and grandkids, and then drive down, and I'm going to shoot Area 5.
So I need a classification. It's up north for you, Georgia. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Does it get under 50? Am I going to have to wear socks? What's going on here?
Yeah, and long johns. Do you know what long johns are?
I did grow up in Buffalo, so I do have an idea, but I haven't worn them in a while.
Well, cool. I look forward to seeing you at Area. That'll be good to see you at Area 5, Steve.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
in fact, it's funny because my granddaughter is coming, and she helped at the West Florida last year, and she's like, what am I going to do? I'm like, listen, Brian Conley gave you a pair of Hunter's HD Gold last year. I said, bring those. I will give you ear protection, and you can help paint.
There you go.
Don't have to be with me. And there's going to be other kids there. Trust me. You're going to meet people that you've never met before, and you might actually build a great friendship, just at those matches. And that happens.
Oh yeah, for sure. Good stuff.
No, I'm looking forward to it. And I'd like to, I'm hoping to do some more traveling. There are a couple of matches in Tennessee that I'd love to be able to make, and I'm going to do my best to do those too, because I have yet to shoot in Tennessee, so that will be an advantage. Well, last year, the week after I retired, I was in Mississippi shooting the Mississippi State match, and had a blast. And it was because of Zach. Zach, we're talking on the phone. He's like, "You're retired? Go to the match." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah. Well, if you're
twist my arm. Oh, that hurt. Okay.
Yeah. It's since we're doing shout outs. If you're going through Tennessee and you're in the Knoxville area, I'll tell you, the people at Orsa are fabulous. The John Suter, the Kenny Reeser, Randy Ermer, Dan Carpenter, the Gibsons. There's just on and on the people at Orsa there in Oak Ridge outside of Knoxville, they have been so good to me, and you would love stopping there. Just
I
really
would go to that. I would go to that match just to see John Suter. I haven't seen him in years, and he was a standard at the U.S. Steel and the World Speed Shoot, and I would go just to see John again. I considered him a good friend, and he was a lot of fun. And jokingly, I'll never forget the one time he was shooting in open-toed sandals, but he had his sneakers. And I'm like, John, what are you doing? He's like, well, I can't wear open-toed for Outer's Limits. So he would change his shoes to run Outer Limits, and then he would go back into open-toed sandals. So
great. That's
John
great.
is a fantastic guy.
Oh, absolutely.
Fantastic. Love John.
Yeah, it's good people there in the Oak Ridge area for sure.
All right. Well, this has been great, guys. Any parting thoughts? Steve, I'll let you start since we've been talking up too much.
Yeah, that's okay. No, I enjoyed spending some time with you guys. It's always great to talk about one of my favorite subjects in the whole wide world. But I do
having
encourage
a home
people,
range?
There was like 3 other times I was going to interject that, and then you just left the door open, so I had to walk through. It'd be rude if I didn't, Jeff. So I did. So,
great.
anyway.
That is great.
But it was good talking with you guys. But also, I highly encourage people, if you're serious about shooting and shooting steel, you want to get better, find a good coach and mentor to do that. And don't feel awkward. Don't feel weird about it. Look up some of the people on the podcast here are absolutely fantastic shooters, great people, great coaches. Start off in your area, but yeah, it's definitely if you want to make some improvements, you got to find somebody that can really help you get to the next level for sure.
100%.
For sure.
Brad, any final thoughts?
Well, first off, just thank you to both you guys for even the mentoring you've done for me. Certainly Steve, all the advice and tips, and listening to my crazy ideas. I appreciate that.
He does have some crazy ones, Jeff. I'm just saying.
Yeah, they're way out there, man. So, and Jeff, certainly all the work you've done to promote Steel Challenge and the shooting sports. It's you guys are a true blessing to the sport, and I've been fortunate to be able to reciprocate some of the goodwill you guys have put out there. So, and if there's another thing too, like if you do want to get better, and just throwing ammo down range isn't usually the answer. So, and even though you may not be close to one of us, the community is not so big that one of us can't get you to either someone that can help you find someone in your area, or give you some ideas of ways you might be able to pick up some tips. And if we can, all of us love to help, and certainly don't be afraid to reach out to anyone.
Absolutely.
100%. That is very true. There are so many people out there, and quite frankly, there's a lot of people that don't currently coach right now, but are capable of doing it. So, that might be the opportunity. If you reach out to Brad or Steve or I and go, I'm in, Kansas, we might know somebody out there that is potential, and say, hey, take this person under your wing for a little bit, teach them some stuff. And I know I became a better shooter when I became a coach, because I would say stuff to my students, and then I would go, I do that. I need to listen to what I'm saying.
That is 100% true right there. Yeah, for sure.
That is 100% true.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much. Everybody listening, I hope you enjoyed it. Steve, you know what the drill is.
Yeah. If you don't want to dry fire, get a home range. I mean, if you want 10% off, use discount code ST Podcast 10 for 10% off. I love this, Jeff. It brings joy and happiness to my life.
All right. This is great. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.